She was treated like a genius, an exceptional achievement visa that gave her a fast track to become a United States citizen. This is 1997. How sweet. Trump's Brit of all right. Just weeks after ditching his second wife, America's best-known billionaire Donald Trump has fallen under the spell of a 20-year-old English girl. This was before Melania, when he met London model Anuska DeGiorgio at a party in Manhattan. Several American millionaires already had their eyes on Anuska, but she was there with Robert Maxwell's daughter, Ghislaine.
Have you ever wondered how Melania Trump really met Donald? What if their romantic first meeting at a glamorous fashion party wasn't romantic at all, but something darker? What happened that night at the KitKat Club, and how does Jeffrey Epstein's chilling quote, "I inherited Trump," fit into the story? This shocking side of their origin will change how you see them forever. Before we move on, I would like you to subscribe to the channel and like the video. It was 1998 and New York City was buzzing. The KitKat Club wasn't just any venue, it was the hotspot for the beautiful, the wealthy, and the infamous. Glitz, glamour, and champagne flowed freely, and that's where Melania Knaus, a young Slovene model, first locked eyes with Donald Trump.
Melania, Donald Trump's dark past, it's resurfacing in ways it's his worst nightmare. Donald Trump went to a club in Manhattan called the KitKat Club, where there were parties that were frequently thrown for very rich Manhattan elites, businessmen. How did Donald Trump meet Melania? On or around the same time he was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell.
The official story is almost too cheesy to be true. Boy sees girl, boy asks girl for her number, girl plays coy. Love at first sight, right? That's how the tabloid version goes. A billionaire wooing a stunning model under the lights of Manhattan. Perfectly curated, a little too perfect actually. But here's where things get murky. The KitKat Club wasn't just a playground for fashion models and Wall Street elites. Behind its velvet ropes, it hid a much darker purpose. This wasn't just about luxury and splendor. It was also about power being wielded in ways far less glamorous than people thought. Rumors swirled about the unspoken deals being made in back rooms, involving young women, wealthy men, and the kind of secrets that never make it to page 6. And let's just say, it wasn't coincidental that so many of those young women came from Eastern Europe. Melania's exact background. You might be wondering, was Melania's introduction to Trump orchestrated? Was she, knowingly or not, stepping into a scene that wasn't just about future dreams, but about power dynamics and control? For all the headlines that painted their meeting as fate, the actual setting tells a completely different story. A party like this wasn't just a meeting ground for relationships. It was a stage where billionaires like Trump could flex their power over the very vulnerable women hoping for a breakthrough.
Melania was a model from Eastern Europe who was brought to the United States, who would attend these parties where the rich men would show up and mingle with the model. Melania's previously made posts about how proud she is of her nudes, but did you know that after Donald Trump and Melania met, she got what was called an Einstein visa? Right now, Russia, it's weaponizing Melania's past. I don't know if you know this, but on Russian TV, they frequently show Melania nude in order to mock Donald Trump.
Let's not forget Melania's perspective in all this, though. She was young, ambitious, and navigating an industry notorious even at the best of times. She wouldn't have been the only model at that party under intense pressure to mingle with the right people, smile at the right jokes, and say yes at just the right moments. But think about it. Was she truly in control of that moment? Or was the game rigged from the start? The KitKat Club wasn't just an upscale venue. It was essentially a microcosm of how the elite operate. Power thrives where people stay silent. The reality of the KitKat Club wasn't simply about high heels and champagne flutes. It was about control. Who had it, who didn't, and what it meant for the women stuck in the middle. Sure, Melania's story became the polished fairy tale you've seen plastered across magazine covers. But when you peel that layer back, one question lingers. How much of that story was her choice? And this is only the opening chapter of Melania's journey into Trump's world. What began as a night in New York's vibrant fashion scene would soon lead her deeper into a tangled web of connections, and not all of them were about romance. Sometimes the choices we think we're making are already shaped by the machinery around us, and Melania was stepping into a system far darker than she likely realized. What did Jeffrey Epstein mean when he reportedly said, "I inherited Trump"? It's not just a strange sentence, it's a terrifying clue about the power games happening behind closed doors, and it hints at something much bigger than Donald himself. The word inherited suggests possession, like Trump wasn't just a person, but a piece on a much larger chessboard. And here's where it gets chilling. How does Melania fit into all this? Because behind that glamorous first meeting at a New York City fashion party stood a whole network of connections. Epstein's world wasn't just about wealth or influence, it was about control.
Donald Trump's out there doing that, and then Donald Trump's out there going to these parties at the KitKat Club to meet. This is separate than what I just said. This is separate. He's just going out there to meet, these young models. In 1997, he's out there partying with Epstein and Ghislaine. So Donald Trump goes to the KitKat Club, and let's just see the story as reported by the New York Times about how Donald and Melania met at the KitKat Club.
At the time, Melania had crossed paths with Trump through Paolo Zampoli, the same modeling agent with a reputation for facilitating connections in Epstein's realm. Zampoli wasn't your typical agent. Sure, he scouted promising talent, but he also acted as a middleman, conveniently linking young models to the ultra-wealthy. It wasn't just about fostering modeling careers, but about shaping social circles. Think of it like setting a stage, but instead of actors and scripts, there were billionaires, parties, and women trying to navigate their way through. Melania was one of them, arriving in New York from Slovenia, ambitious, but still new to that elite world. And here's the kicker. Zampoli worked closely with none other than Epstein's associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, who was notorious for recruiting women into Epstein's inner circle. The dots practically connect themselves. Now let's circle back to what Epstein reportedly said about inheriting Trump. It paints an image that's more chilling than any magazine headline about Trump and Melania's fairy tale. Inheritance, ownership, transactions, it all sounds less like romance and more like a shadowy deal. And the same sentiment extended to women like Melania, who may not have realized how carefully orchestrated her introduction to Trump might have been.
They were linked by someone named Paolo Zampoli, who's become an ambassador under Donald Trump, a high-ranking government official. Melania arrived in the United States from Slovenia in 1996 for modeling work, and then she obtained her green card around 2001 based on her extraordinary ability as a model. So Donald Trump meets Melania at the KitKat Club, and then they develop a relationship with each other, and then let's talk about what happened.
Epstein's and Maxwell's influence in these social circles meant relationships could be constructed as much as they seemed organic. A young model at a party wasn't just someone new to meet, she was an opportunity. But this isn't just about Epstein or Maxwell individually. The systems they operated in and the people they surrounded themselves with built a web so thick that even the women caught in it may not have seen it coming. Ghislaine Maxwell was key in this, playing the polite yet predatory role as the socialite who charmed and manipulated. Meanwhile, Epstein created the atmosphere where introductions to people like Trump could happen, keeping everything seemingly glamorous on the surface. Yet the reality was far darker. If Melania's meeting with Trump came through this network of orchestrations, then the story of their romance becomes less about serendipity and more about power. And then there's the question of Melania's silence. For years, even while the Epstein-Maxwell scandal unraveled, Melania maintained an almost eerie quiet. No comments, no statements. Sure, you could argue she's just private, but in high-stakes games like these, silence can also mean survival. As First Lady, her image became tightly controlled, from her fashion choices to her public appearances. No messy interviews, no personal oversharing, just a carefully crafted persona that seemed more like strategic armor. One can't help but wonder how much of this is an effort to distance herself from a past tied to Epstein's world. Ultimately, Epstein's claim that he inherited Trump casts a shadow over everything, even Melania's introduction into Trump's life. It reframes their love story, making it feel disturbingly transactional. Was their meeting orchestrated by the power brokers of Epstein's world to serve some larger system of influence? If the KitKat Club set the stage for their first meeting, then the web Epstein spun might have ensured that introduction wasn't random random at all. But here's the bigger twist. Melania isn't just a passive figure in this story. Her silence, her image, it might all be how she's learned to survive, to play the game far better than anyone could have guessed. Which leaves one lingering question. How has she managed to navigate these murky waters for so many years without being pulled under entirely? Her silence might not just be a lack of voice. It might be the only way to keep control in a world obsessed with taking it away. Melania's first meeting with Trump wasn't just a chance encounter at a glitzy party. It might have been her first step into a world carefully built on power and exploitation. Her silence about Epstein's connections and the machinations behind her introduction to Trump speaks volumes. Is it strategic, protective, or does it hold secrets too heavy to share? What's clear is that her image isn't shaped by coincidence. It's calculated, layered, and maybe her strongest form of control. The story here isn't just about Melania or Trump, but a glimpse into the darker underpinnings of the elite. What's left unsaid?